Neil made one of the best decisions of his managerial career when he brought Murdo MacLeod to Parkhead from Dumbarton in 1978. During the following 9 years, the midfielder scored an impressive 81 goals in 394 matches. And he joins us today. Hi Murdo, how are you doing?
Hi Jim, very well, thank you.
Now, at the very beginning, when you were a youth, it was Partick Thistle Boys Club and then a Thistle S Forum. So what happened? You didn't join them?
I didn't know, because I signed for Partick Thistle on an S Forum when I was 12. And you couldn't register until you were 13, so they'd kept it in the drawer for a few months. But then I got a couple of offers to go down south. I got a chance to go to Arsenal as a kid, as a 12-year-old, and I'd never been on a plane, so that was my first trip. And I told Thistle, look, I'm just going to cancel it because it's not registered anyway. And I just felt getting tied so young at a club that maybe can hold you back a bit, and I just fancied the thought of going down to see what it was like at Arsenal.
As a matter of curiosity, what do they do with you when they take you down at 12, 13 to a club like Arsenal? I mean, do they train you or show you around? Or?
Well, yeah, you go to we went to the Colony, the Arsenal training ground. And it was funny, my second cousin, who's Davy McKinnon, who played for Rangers, he was a young ground staff boy down there at Arsenal, so he kind of looked after me a wee bit and showed me around the place. But we were into training, we played in some games, and you look back, you think, goodness, we're far too young to be doing that. But we're down there staying in a nice hotel in the middle of London, picked up every morning in the taxi, and then taken out to the training ground.
So did you get the same treatment when you eventually signed for Dumbarton 1974?
Yeah, it was a strange one. Well, not a strange one. I had been training with Dumbarton. I'd been training with Rangers at the time as well. I'd been down to Arsenal. I'd been to Birmingham. I'd been to Crystal Palace. Been offered to sign down, and even Rangers showed interest in me at that time as well. But Dumbarton, I'd been training. I liked the set-up. I liked the guys that was there.
Who was the manager at the time?
Alec Wright was the manager.
Wright, yeah.
And we had players, some great names. The McAdam brothers were there, Ian Wallace was there, Willie Wallace was there. So good experience round about the club. But I'd been training there for about a year, every Monday and every Thursday night. And then I was offered to sign, and I was told once you sign, you can play in the reserve team. And I felt at 16 years of age, that's fantastic, getting a reserve game right away. And it was at Dens Park. And I got on the bus, I signed, and I got on the bus and up to Dens Park, and I was on the bench. And then there was a game going on at Tannadice, so you're hearing the noise from Tannadice in an empty Dens Park Stadium. And then just into the second half, this guy Whispy was getting taken off, and I was going on, and I didn't know who Whispy was at the time. And as you know, it's legendary Willie Wallace. And so that was my debut for Dumbarton Reserves, is coming on for Willie Wallace.
A forward in those days?
Well, I was a forward-thinking... I was a forward when I was a kid, when at all Partick Thistle Boys Club, Sycamore Guy, BB, the school team, I played centre-forward. I scored millions of goals all the time.
Slight exaggeration, but we'll let it go.
All right. No, I did score millions, because I practised every day. I just played up front, I scored a lot of goals. And I don't know what happened. I gradually, when I signed for Dumbarton, I just played middle of the park, maybe even wide in the left of a 4 or wide in the left of a 3. And I was very quick when I was younger, and I could get from middle of the park, and I had a good shot. I scored goals from middle of the park, and just transformed into and it turned out to be a left-sided midfield player. And everybody says, "Oh, you're left-footed, and you've got a great left foot," and all this kind of thing. But I'm naturally right-footed, and not many people kind of knew that. And always. People used to argue with me and say, "You're not right-footed, you're left-footed." Maybe they'd seen some of my shots with my right foot.
The curious thing, if you look back to some of Dumbarton's games during that time, that you met Celtic quite a few times in League Cup and Scottish Cup.
That's right. Well, that was one of the biggest games when I was a kid. We played Celtic at Boghead in a League Cup match, and playing away. Now, Pat McCluskey was against me in the middle of the park, and I was a wee bit quicker than Pat at that time. And I remember one time I was taking off to get in towards the box, and I just got an elbow in my jaw as I went by Pat, and he told me to stop running by him. But that night, I'm sure all the Dumbarton fans will remember the game. We were 3-1 up with 10 minutes to go, and then we ended up, Celtic scored 2 late goals and finished 3 each, but just a wonderful occasion at, I think I was 17 years of age.
Were you aware of any whispers at that time of other clubs being interested in you?
Well, at one point Aston Villa invited me down, and I went down to train at Aston Villa for 4 or 5 days. And Ron Saunders,
I was going to say, would it be?
Yeah, Ron Saunders was the manager there, and again Andy Gray was down there, and boy Gordon Cowens went on to do.
They just won the European Cup shortly afterwards.
That's right. So I went down there, and I thought did everything quite well, played in the game and a bit of shooting and all this, and they offered £60,000 for me And Alec Wright came into the dressing room in the morning and says, so we've had a bid from Villa and they've offered 60 grand, but we've knocked it back. And I was devastated. You're just thinking, what a chance to go down to a big English team. And so you just got on with it. And then I was playing away and getting all the whispers that one or two English teams were watching. Rangers were watching again, and so things were going on. And a couple of boys, David Wilson was assistant manager, and Graham Fife, who used to play for Rangers, he was at the club and he says, the boys are coming to watch you tonight at Love Street. And I've went to Love Street, we've beaten St Mirren, I've played well in good headlines, and then the word came back that Jock Wallace thought it was too small. And I thought, well, I'm not a goalkeeper. But that's what years later I heard that. But that's what happened at the time.
How small were you compared to just now? I mean, were you slighter than you are just now?
No,
Same
height, and
yeah.
I was always.
I
was always stocky or strong or whatever. I've always been strong.
So when did Celtic come on the scene?
And then I was out. I get picked in the Scottish League team to play against the Irish League at Fir Park, Motherwell. And I was out with my daughter Jalan, who was in the pram because I'd taken the day off work because of the game at night, and I got a phone call from Alec Wright that Celtic wanted to sign me. They bid £100,000, and I just couldn't believe it. And what am I doing here? And so I went back to the house, told Mary and Alex and Davies down at the house, and we'll go up to see Big Billy at Celtic Park, and just unbelievable. Going up and met up with Billy and spoke with him and told, no, we want to sign you, and it was just like a dream come true sort of thing. Here it is, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and they want to sign me.
The thing is, up to then, Murdo, it had been Rangers seemed to be doing all the running, so how was your own family affected by the news that you were suddenly going to the opposition?
They weren't affected at all, because everybody knew the teams I supported all my life was the teams I played for. I gave more to the teams I played for than anyone else. I didn't bother anyone round about. So that was fine, so I got on with it. And as soon as Celtic was mentioned, my grandfather used to go and watch Celtic, and my first team I went to see was Partick Thistle, because I was a Bulgai boy, so I used to come in as yourself, Jim, and go into Partick Thistle and watch them. So that was the early teams that you watched. But as soon as Celtic came on the scene, everybody just fantastic. To get a move from Dumbarton, because always my life was going to the so-called smaller club, learn your trade there, get first team football experience. By the time I left at 20 years of age, I'd played 4 years in the first team, maybe 100 games at first division level. So it was good experience. I wasn't just a young kid. You look at young kids getting into the Celtic team just now at 20, they've only played reserve football and then they're getting thrown in there. I had a good experience at 20 years of age.
Yeah. After Boghead, how did Celtic Park live up to expectations?
The stadium was a wee bit bigger and the park was a wee bit better. I could just... It was your kind of dream of playing at that level.
Did you notice an immediate difference in standards? I mean, money, for instance, the style of play and all that kind of thing, you know?
Well, I wouldn't go down the money line because I took a drop in wages, because by that time...
You took a drop in wages?
I did, yes. At that time, I was a full-time footballer at Dumbarton at 16, and I got married to Mary when I was 18, and then when I was around about 19, I said to Dumbarton, look, I'm not earning enough full-time football. And they got me a job at the Ballantine's Whisky distillery in Dumbarton. So I'm in there working away during the week, and I'm doing my 2 nights training with Dumbarton still, and any days off used to go in and train in there as well. So my money with Ballantine's and Dumbarton was more than what I signed for Celtic. So I took a drop in wages, but I didn't tell many people at the time. And
when you arrived at Celtic Park, I mean, the team was pretty solid at that time. You were the kind of last link in what Billy thought was a bit of a chain, didn't he?
Well, Billy just started. I was his second signing. He'd got David Provan the month before, which was an absolutely magnificent signing as well. Davy was a wonderful player for the club. And,
I like the as well bit there, by the way.
I meant as well as you. So Davy was in, settled in, and I knew a couple of boys from the under-21s. I knew Big Roy, and I knew George McCluskey. He was in. I knew Tam Burns. I seen Danny about, but Danny was a kind of legend walking about the place, and Bobby Lennox was still in the team, and wee Johnny Doyle, a legendary player at the club, and all these kind of things, and big Peter Latchford. So you're going in and you've seen these guys on television and played against some of them and played with some of them, so but you're still nervous walking in the front door at Celtic Park, and you get into the dressing room, and Steely's there and he's singing away. Jim Steele, the masseur, fantastic at the club. And well, the telegrams, in those days you get telegrams from all your pals, good luck for the game and all this kind of thing. And he's kind of throwing them about like cards. And then Neely Mawkins up and looking after you and all these kind of things. It was just fantastic, great experience.
And a wonderful season to start at Celtic Park, because there was probably the greatest last night, finish of all time when they beat Rangers 4-2 to win the league title.
Absolutely incredible.
When everything went against you to begin with, because Doyle got it off.
Well, that's right. That night, and it became a legendary game because the TV cameras were there at Celtic Park, but they went on strike. So they never even let the film run and just get the game in the can and maybe use it later on. And the Celtic Sydney Club, I think, had a wee handheld camera to do the game. But all the way the game went, Rangers went 1-0 up because they needed a draw that night to win the championship, and we had to beat them to win the championship. So they were 1-0 up at half time. Into the second half, Alec McDonald was down injured, and I think Doyle thought there wasn't much wrong with him. And for me, it was a playful, because Doyle walked over to Alec, kind of over him, gave him a kick and said, "Come on, wee man, get up." And the referee sent him off. So Doyley's off, we're down to 10 men, 1-0 down, and then we equalise. We went 2-1 up. Immediately Rangers equalised to make it 2 each. And then Colin Jackson scored an own goal with 10 minutes to go. And then the last minute of the game, I've picked the ball up and I'm charging inside the Rangers half. And I'm aware of what's happening. I knew I had people on that side. I think Davy Provan was on the left side of me, but I've just charged forward. And my thought was, and people always ask me about this goal because it was voted the best Old Firm goal. And my thought at the time was, I'm going to shoot. I'm going to hit the ball as hard as I can. And if it misses the target, it'll be in the Celtic end. And our punters will keep it in there. They'll keep it in there. They'll keep it in there because it wasn't at the time that you had 3 or 4 minutes added time. It was the 90 minutes and the game was finished. And I knew it was late in the game, and I just hit this one and it took off. And it went top right-hand corner. And
right foot?
Right foot. And I can't believe, but Peter McCoy died for it. He thought he had a chance. But Peter went up and hit the roof of the net. And there was a great picture, I don't know which, maybe Eric Craig for the record had or something like that Andy Lynch is kind of skipping, Davy Provan's down in his knees, all the Celtic fans are up in the main stand, and I'm just walking over with the hands in the air. And it was a great still photograph of it, but just absolutely wonderful occasion.
It really must have been one of the best moments in the whole career. I mean, you have a very good career, but that must have been hard to beat, and it was the first season where you're...
Well, that's what I've always said. People gone about 9 years at Celtic Park as a player and my year as assistant manager and all this kind of thing, but my first season, I don't think it. Well, I thought is this normal to do it? But I knew as a kid what an Old Firm game, how much it meant, and I played in the Old Firm game. My second game for Celtic was an Old Firm game at Hampden, because Ibrox was getting renovated, and we went to Hampden for the Old Firm game. So you'd experienced that, and then played at Celtic Park last game of the season too. But to know how much was at stake, to win your first Premier League medal, the best medal you can get in Scottish football, to score in the last minute, to beat Rangers, and I thought, that's it.
We'll do it every year.
Aye, well, that's what you always think is things are going to get, or it's going to be the same. But as I say, that night was hard to beat.
You also played with a man who was the best scorer against Rangers, was Tom McAdam. But how was your own record scoring goals against?
Scored a few against Rangers, yeah, and a few good ones. Where have I scored? I scored in a late goal in a 3-2 thriller. I've always scored the last goal, or the winning goal in Old Firm games, which is, I think that's why a lot of the Celtic fans always remember me scoring against Rangers.
It was a good time for Celtic. You know, you had League Championships 81-82 and League Cup of 82. The curious thing was, from the overall picture in Scottish football, that Rangers weren't really the great danger at the time, because Aberdeen and Dundee United were the new firm, as they were called. They were really pressing. That must have been strange in many ways, because you're a West of Scotland boy. You know, you're used to the rivalry between these two teams, and suddenly two other teams come into it.
Without a doubt, and as I said, we had a great run against Rangers over my years at Celtic, but all of a sudden we had a strong Aberdeen. And when I signed for Celtic, they were never in the equation of going to cause you a problem, or Dundee United. And it was always going to be the Old Firm games, but all of a sudden Aberdeen produced a wonderful football side with Fergie, with Strachan and Miller, McLeish, Leighton in goals, Rugby, middle of the park very strong. The D United start producing with Gough, Neri, Hegarty, Malpass, good goalkeeper Hamish McAlpine. All of a sudden the two of them got very strong sides and they never changed. Week in, week out, they're fortunate enough, not many injuries, and all of a sudden they were getting stronger, and it was always a battle. And saying that, the rest of Scottish football was at a good standard as well.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden you've got two teams that's, we're going on about Hearts just now, and up to now has been fantastic, 8 or 9 games. But these teams were going the full season to put you under pressure.
Do you think it was a better standard of football back then?
I think it was more enjoyable to watch. I think the fans maybe enjoyed football better then. I think football now, fans are going to try and support, but the atmosphere's not the same in the grounds. I think the fans are more, maybe a wee bit more knowledgeable in all these new systems. You know, the 3-5-2, 4-4-2, 4-3-1-1, all these kind of things.
They all trot them out,
so they're all
yeah.
saying, and if a team loses, all of a sudden they're going home talking about, well, the system wasn't right today. In the olden days, you used to say, so-and-so was crap, he was rubbish, he was rubbish. But we'll win next week.
It's still the same.
Do you know what I mean? But
yeah.
the fans enjoyed their day out. But I think a lot of sides and a lot of really good players around in those days as well, in first teams and reserve teams.
Well, let me deal with one just now, because your international career started in the mid-80s, and in your first cap, you came on as a substitute for the current Celtic manager, Gordon Strachan.
It was a great... And I'll tell you the build-up to my first Scotland cap, because Jock Stein was the man involved in the whole thing, because I hadn't been capped, and I'd been scoring a lot of goals from the middle of the park for Celtic. And Jimmy Sanderson, the late Jimmy Sanderson, always used to say, Murdo McLeod's got to be in the Scotland squad, and I was never in it. And Neely Mochan used to say, the more he says it, the more Big Jock will not put you in the team. So it went on for a long time, and then the season had finished for us. We'd beaten Dundee United in the Scottish Cup final, and that was my season finished at the weekend. So we've had the party over the weekend into the middle of the next week. One of my pals we went out with Marion, his wife, and we've had a meal and back, and early next morning my phones went, and it's a gruff voice. Hello, Murdo, it's Mr. Stein here. How would you like to be the overage player in Iceland next week for the under-21s? I says, I'd be delighted, that'd be smashing. That's fine, we're all meeting up at Hampden on Saturday, so come to Hampden and come out to Iceland with that. I says, that's fantastic. So my phone went half an hour later. Again, it was Jock Stein. And he says, how would you like to be on the bench against England on Saturday? I says, dream come true. Right. Come to Gleneagles, so went up to Gleneagles, joined up with the squad, and then turned up at Hampden on the bench. So I'm on the bench, and it's just fantastic. Scotland-England game, though, we speak about the Rangers-Celtic games, Scotland-England games up there with them, and I'm warming up into the second half, and then Richard Gough scored the header, and I thought, well, that's the chance gone. But I've just sat down, and Mr. Stein leaned over, right, Murdo, get your gear off, you're going on. Strachan's coming off, he shouts. And again, so you're getting ready, and I've seen it before that guys have had their gear off, ready to go on, and something happens in the park, get your gear back on. So I wasn't taking it for granted I was getting my first cap. But I always remember standing at the side of the park, Mr. Stein's over, hand on my shoulder, tell me, you get to the left-hand side, get Soonest, get him organised in the middle of the park. Gordon's coming off and push everybody along one. And I just remember getting on over the park, and that was my first thought was, I'm playing for my country. No, it was a great experience.
Who else was in the team at that time?
In the team, well, you still had Millers and McLeishes in there, and I think Jim Leighton was in goals.
Strikers?
As soon as wee Speedy was just coming in there, wee Speedy was about the place. Gordon Strachan, Jim Bett was about. No, so it was the kind of end of Graham Souness's era, and the new kind of Miller, McLeish, Leighton, Strachan, all these ones in.
Did you deal enough with Jock Stein to find a difference between him and Billy McNeil methods?
No. I was involved in the couple of training squads, and sadly I was there in the night when he died down in Wales, and just that was a hell of a night. But just in the training, anything, if you put a cross in and it was too long, they just look at you, and you don't do that at club level, so you don't do that here.
No, I remember it.
Well, you've been through it all, so every cliche you've heard, every stare you can remember from him, and all the time you were aware of him watching, even if he was looking the other way, you were aware of what you were doing.
Let's deal with the goal scoring first of all. Did you practice that when you were a kid?
I did, yes. Not scoring from 25 yards or 30 yards against Rangers, but I used to go out the back, and we lived in Mulgai, and our back garden is about, I don't know, about 30 yards long, and it just had the fence about 3 feet. And Alistair and I, my brother, who was a professional football player, we used to put a jersey this side and a jersey up there, and we used to play shooting in each other. So by that case, I wasn't bad in goals, he wasn't bad in goals either. But we used to be able to strike it, and all day long both of us would strike the ball. So we'd shoot out all day, all afternoon, all morning together. So both of us became very good strikers of the ball with both feet. And then if you ever get fed up shooting, we used to bring them in and used to have the header competition. So we just practised all day long. And I just think after that, when you went to the senior teams, it went to Dumbarton first. When you're training at night, you were out. But you always used to get a bit of shooting there. But it was always with the team, so you had to wait for your turn coming around. But it's when you're away on your own, I think that's, I would say to young kids today, practice on your own.
But I was going to say, you don't see it.
You don't see it, Jim, because kids now are with all their wee teams, and they've got maybe 2 organised nights, and the coaches are doing really well. But the coaches are taking an overall look of every player and trying to get them all involved. But if you're away from that, you're coaching, you've got to go and do it yourself.
Yeah, right.
You've got to go and practice yourself. See all the players now. The professional players have got a better touch now because they're all working at it all the time. So young players should give themselves a start and go and practice as much as they can.
Why did you not... Well, you had a good first season, to be honest, in Europe with Celtic. But generally speaking, why didn't you do well in Europe?
Don't know. If we knew that, we'd have solved it at the time.
Yeah, but come on, you're an intelligent man. You've thought about it in the past.
I wonder
why?
a bit... I think we were maybe just a wee bit naive and played the Celtic way away from home. Try to get forward, and I'm sure that's... Well, I can't say that to you because you've managed to achieve so much.
No, but then the back was sealed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We sealed the back at the same time, you know? Only one went forward, one stayed back.
Well, that was our problem. We used to get everybody like to go in. We felt there's an opportunity. We used to get players, defenders would come forward, or we lose silly goals. But I wouldn't sit here and say, oh, we'll blame the defenders and just say the rest of us were innocent. We're all part of a team. We won as a team, we lost as a team. But
it must have been disappointing.
It was disappointing because the first year we went on and we played the Albanians, which was unusual. But then Real Madrid, and we've beaten them 2-0 at Celtic Park, the great Real Madrid, and you're saying, here we go. And we're in, we went to the Bernabeu and we lost a goal just before half time, 2-1, and then into the second half, then it was a late goal, 2-2, and then you got a third goal and knocked us out. And I think the mentality was at that time, well, that's where we're going to be all the time. No, you were maybe we took it a wee bit for granted, but then all of a sudden we get knocked out by Mickey Mouse teams, DVTK Hungary or something like that, and on away goals rules and all that. So I think after that we did let ourselves down in Europe, and that's one of my kind of... I wouldn't sit and say it's a regret because football's football. But you look back and say we should have been doing an awful lot better in European football. We had some great games. We played some really good sides. We played a good Nottingham Forest side, a good Ajax side, a good Dynamo Kiev side. Juventus, yeah, a great experience. So we played good European sides, and generally they went on. The ones knocked us out, they had good runs after that. And the one bad night was the replayed game when we played... what do you call them?
Rapid Vienna.
Rapid Vienna. Because we had a really good night at Celtic Park, and they cheated. They cheated on the night. The boy went down and held his head. He wasn't hit. And they came back on with the bandage. And for UEFA to make the nonsense of us having to replay the whole thing, they could have fined the club for somebody throwing someone into the park, but the replay going on and all this kind of thing. But they most certainly cheated. And then I think we were a wee bit naive as well. We took the game down to Manchester. We should maybe have taken it up to Aberdeen because we're used to playing at Pittodrie, whereas we went down to Old Trafford. It was a first for us as well, and we're arriving there and it was a magnificent atmosphere. So many Celtic fans travelled down to Manchester, and then we lost the goal, and that just killed all our hopes.
There were 2 final moments before you left. Not final moments, but 2 big moments. Scottish Cup final '85, first of all, and then that a great day for everybody. To come from 1 down.
Well, that's right. In the cup final, sometimes you play in cup finals and you don't remember a lot of the game. You remember the scores, but I always remember it was the night Davy Provin got the free kick, and it was when he got the ball down, and I was kind of fancying it, but I felt it was more his side.
Yeah.
No, because Davy was a wonderful striker of the ball, and he swept the ball over the top of the the wall into the top corner. I think it was the first direct goal from a free kick for so many years, the commentator was saying. And then when Frank got the winning goal, we just, anyway, the time the Celtic end at Hampden was open in the sunlight, it was just
amazing.
Cup finals are great.
And then the 86 league decider on the last day down at Love Street, that must have been nearly matching 78, 79.
It was fantastic, and it's funny the amount of people you hear about St Mirren lay down, and there's a lot of Celtic fans in the St Mirren team. They could have scored 2 or 3 goals early on. They started really well because they were a very good side, St Mirren. So we're out there and jam-packed at Love Street, and we're in and about the game, and we started. The football that day was fantastic. The football, we scored some great goals. I can't remember who scored the last. Was it Maurice Johnson? But the one that came all the way down the right-hand side.
Brian McClare was last one.
Yep. No, maybe the first goal was Morris. But it was the best footballing goal we'd scored. But we just played really good football. We were cruising at half-time, 4-0 up, or 4-0 into the dressing room, and it's 1-0 Dundee. And then that's fine, come on, let's keep it going. As we're coming out, it's no 1-0, it's nothing each. All right, on we go. So we're out, we've scored again, and we're 5-0 up, we're cruising. And then you hear the cheer just starting. And it's a great picture, if anyone can ever see it, it's a great picture of Jim Stewart in goals. And he's taken a goal kick, he's placed the ball, and he's went back, and a big roar went up. And you see him kind of panicking, what's going on here? Dundee have just scored, so all of a sudden the whole place is heaving, it's jumping. And the games went on, it not went quiet, but we're just getting on with it. And then there's a half row and then a half silence. Kidd has scored, so we're thinking it's a Walter Kidd, but it wasn't. It was Albert Kidd getting to second, and then 2-0, and then that was it.
Did you want to leave, briefly? Did you want to leave Celtic?
No, I didn't, no.
Yeah. So how do you look back on your career there?
How do I look back in my career? Great 9 years. I wouldn't change it for anything. We spoke at the Europe, still wouldn't change it. They're wonderful 9 years, and as I say, I was proud to play for them.
Murdo, thank you very much indeed. It's been fascinating to talk to you. Thank you.
It's a good ball, and it's the second one. McClare, 2-0. It's a good ball, a brilliant header, and that's the done. Brian McClare again.
Chance again for Celtic. Brian McClare. That's a great hit for the ball. Cross, Murdo McLeod's there, so is McClare. Clare against Smith. 2-0 to Celtic. That's for McClare. Chance for Celtic, and there's the pass. Beautifully struck by McClare, his 16th goal of the season. From the Burns, a chance for Celtic.